When Catherine Muhlbauer graduated from Mount St. Mary's High School in the town of Tonawanda almost 3 decades ago, she already was an accomplished artist. Further degrees at the Catholic University in Washington and the University of Buffalo helped establish her as a first-class sculptress. Her uniform of the day, jeans, floppy shirt, and ponytail, along with a splattering of clay and plaster. For the past quarter century, she's been a Catholic nun. Sister Catherine Muhlbauer of the Sisters of St. Mary of NAMUR. You are a Catholic nun, professional artist, and a sculptor. But where's the balance here?
Well, I hope what I express in my art connects with what I profess to be as a religious sister in the Catholic Church. Mm-hmm. My primary work is commission work for churches. If a parish inquires about my work and wishes to have me come and talk over some particular project, I can do that. When I do a large work, my experience has been that I somehow identify with whatever it is I'm sculpting, if it's the Christ figure or in the last one, the Catherine of Siena. Interiorly, I had to identify something with that figure, with that person. And I think because I tried to do that, ultimately my work expresses what I understood of the spiritual reality of those persons.
Tell me about your first sculpture that we've seen over at the infirmary, the risen Christ. Tell me all about it, how long it took and so forth.
Well, on the technical level, I really was attempting something I had never tried before. So in some ways it was a challenge, a very big challenge to me technically. And I think in the midst of that challenge I experienced some high points, but some very low points, a kind of insecurity about it, not knowing whether it would come out. And I think because I experienced that, in the end, the risen quality of the Christ comes through, because in the end there was a great deal of joy and reward for me as an artist to see the finished product.
When I first saw that statue, I was thinking of a crucifixion, but it wasn't a crucifixion. It was more like a resurrection. Tell me.
Yes, that's right. But many people have said to me how this figure seems to carry not only the risen quality, but there is you can see the strain and the struggle the figure has gone through. So there's a crucified aspect to it, and the wounds are shown.
Yes.
So it's a risen body, but there's also the aspects of death.
It also seemed that there was a flow, like the hair or the garments were in a breeze of some type. What was that?
Yes, I thought of the spirit, the lifting of the spirit, the wind. And that's what I tried to express in mine, that ascending quality, like he is being carried up by the power of God. And so I showed the cloth blowing in the breeze and the hair outstretched as if it was being lifted by a wind from underneath.
And this is all done in cherry wood?
Cherry wood. This wood belonged to my father. And he had this wood for perhaps 30 years and didn't have a specific idea about what to use it for. And before he died, he had given me the wood, and I was able to piece it together into this body to make the Christ figure. And in the end, I dedicated this piece to him.
It looks like skin. What did you do to make it so lifelike?
What I did was polished it down with very fine grade of sandpaper, and then I used tung oil to seal it and polish it.
How long did it take you to make that?
I worked over a period of 2 years on that figure.
The face is beautiful. It's so different. Was it difficult?
The face was an extremely different experience for me in the sense that I didn't know what the face would be, and I felt like I didn't have a face to give it in my repertoire, and I spiritually handed over the tools to God. And once I did that, I felt like I had power from someplace else to carve their face. It wasn't something I controlled so much.
There's a lot of emotion involved, wasn't there?
Yes, a great deal.
Now, one of the nuns told me that there's a little secret compartment there. Do you ever talk about that?
Yes. Well, it's a special thing. When I was making the statue, when anyone would visit me, I'd ask them to take a chip out with the chisel. And then when they participated in that, they put their names down on a piece of paper. And I curled it up and drilled a hole in the back, just about the place of the heart. And I put that little capsule in the hole.
That's beautiful.
And sealed it.
That's beautiful. Now, tell me about the St. Catherine, your namesake,
Yes,
more or less.
namesake.
St. Catherine of Siena?
Siena, that's
Tell me
right.
about that piece.
This statue is in Menden, New York. It's the parish of St. Catherine of Siena.
That's near what city? Big
It's
city?
south of Rochester.
Can you explain the various stages here that we're looking at?
Well, right, the first picture here shows the 12-inch model in clay, which I submitted to the parish for to see if they liked the movement and the concept. And here we see the armature I used before I built the 3-foot statue in clay. It's the support structure for the clay. And in this picture, you see the completed clay work. You can see the relationship between the first picture, but with much more detail.
How high is that?
That is 3 feet, and it's the model. It will be the model from which I carved the big one.
Okay.
Here you see the division of the clay model with metal shims. The purpose of this is to make separate mold pieces so that I can put fiberglass in to make the model. This is a stage in the making of the mold. What you're looking at is plaster that's been applied to the clay model, and the wire structure is simply a support structure for the mold.
Okay.
This next picture is the mold when the clay has been removed. The pieces are off of the back and you can see into the mold, and the next stage of this process will be to clean the mold out and then apply fiberglass into the mold. After the fiberglass has been put in, everything is hardened. Now I've begun to chip out the model from the mold. So you take a chisel with a hammer and you begin to chip away the plaster. And this is the finished model. So this whole series depicts the first stage of the project of St. Catherine before I've even started the wood. This is the wood block. This is mahogany wood that I got from a company up in Cambridge, Ontario, and they glued together the different pieces of mahogany in a kind of configuration that approximated the size of the statue. You can see the model in here underneath this framework, and the wood block behind it. One is a half size of the other, and this is the measuring frame that I used to measure. This next picture is the beginning stage. I began the entire carving with a chainsaw.
So you have a face mask there.
I have a face mask and ear protectors. This is the stage in which I've taken off most of the wood with the chainsaw. You can see some of the measuring marks that the holes that I drilled that relate to the white dots on the model. Then the next stage after the chainsaw was to take a chisel, sometimes by hand and sometimes with an air compressor, and to begin to get the more flowing, detailed parts of the form. This next picture is the finished model, or finished piece, and I've put tung oil, sanded it first, of course, and then put tung oil on as a finish. And you can see how the wood has deepened and brought out the rich color of the mahogany. And these are some detailed pictures of the final piece. It's the face, and this is the foot. Catherine of Siena had the stigmata, and so you see the wound of Christ in the hands and in the feet.
And the final product?
The very last picture here is the statue in the church where it will be, with the exception that it will be raised on a pedestal in the finished product. But this was when it arrived in the church.
That's all completed,
Yes.
and you're still busy.
Yes.
What's your latest project?
My latest project is for an outdoor shrine for Our Lady of Perpetual Help Parish in Lakeview. And this statue is being rendered in clay at the moment and will be cast into fiberglass so that it can endure the weather in this area.
I see you also work in bronze. Can you give me a little story on what's going on there?
I learned to do a bronze technique at the University of Buffalo, and they have a foundry there. And I learned the technique, and we had models come in, and first you render the image in clay, and then you cast it in the same way as with the fiberglass, but instead of using fiberglass, you put wax. What
are these little clay models behind you?
The clay models are some of the ladies who study with me. They're working on portraits. They're very interested in figurative and portrait work. So we have a model come in once a week, and the ladies come and
You're teaching then, aren't you?
Yes, I'm teaching.
You teach classes?
Yes, I have class here once a week.
You keep pretty busy.
Yes.
What's down the line for Sister Kathy?
I don't know. I hope that the commission work continues. I very much enjoy that, and I hope the classes continue too, because it's another expression. To share what knowledge I have with other people is very rewarding for me.
It seems like you have the best of two worlds. They blend pretty well.
I think
they?
so. I'm very happy to be doing this work because I feel like I'm using my best gifts for the kingdom, and that's the most important thing for me.
It's very rewarding.
Yes, it is. You know, and even if, you know, there's some discrepancy between your work and the model, there's a beauty about the three-dimensional form that you're achieving, which is very important. It's a pleasure to look at beautiful three-dimensional form like that.